to basically ask you, like, if you had to choose a religion, which one would you choose?
If I had to choose a religion, that's a good
Yeah, like
question.
if you just have to.
I would probably pick Christianity.
All right, so then for step two, I would say that you don't actually have to consider any of the other religions.
See if I got this correctly, right? Step one, pick the religion that you think is the most probable, right? And
Yeah.
step two, like that leaves everything basically off the table, because if you're gonna believe in anything, it should be the one that has the highest probability, right? And the question after that is, should you believe in this probability, right? Should you commit your life to this probability? If yes, you get all this benefit. If no, you get nothing. That's the idea of it.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, I would counter that with this, right? I'm gonna go out tomorrow, right? Let's say, and I look at the forecast, and then it says 40% chance it's gonna rain tomorrow. 40% chance. Now, highest probability is that it's not gonna rain tomorrow. Do I
Mhm.
bring an umbrella? Right? So my point is, just because one thing has the highest probability of being true doesn't mean that everything else can be neglected.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we don't know. William Lane Craig even makes this kind of argument that, like, how could you even know the probability, right? Like, is your brain a calculator, right? So there's evidence that I can see, sure, but I can't even really make a accurate claim of probability to begin with. So I don't even know which one has like the highest probability, quote unquote. So that makes it doubly important to not neglect all the other possibilities.
The thing is that ultimately, for you to make any decision that might lead to heaven or some kind of eternal benefit, you do ultimately have to commit to one possibility. I guess if you're living your life as if you need 100% certainty to do everything, you basically can't function. So I would say that that choosing a religion just based off of what's most probable is still the most logical answer here.
It's not exactly my choice to me. I want to focus on that first, right? Do you think that faith is or
Mhm.
belief is a choice?
I would say to a certain point. So I guess trying to encounter God, I would say that it is a choice. Yes.
Did you choose to believe, or did the evidence convince you? And if the evidence convinced you, then it just hasn't convinced me. And for me to kind of like make a conscious decision to almost act as if there's more evidence than there is feels inauthentic, right? Feels like I'm trying to trick
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good point. I would say still though that today you might not believe, but maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, right? I think people are able to eventually believe things if they try long enough and enough. Like we see, for example, propaganda is very effective at making people believe pretty crazy things. So I guess you could use that same principle here to say that basically if you surround yourself inside of like for example, I guess if you're trying to turn yourself Christian, you could surround yourself in like a Christian environment, and there is like a decent chance that you would be able to eventually convince yourself that it is true.
Would you be actually convinced, right? Because the normal way that you
Hmm.
are convinced is by exploring, is by
Hmm.
like encountering all the counter points. But then if you only surround yourself with like Christian ideologies, surround yourself with Christian
Hmm.
people, is that really
Yeah.
convincing, or is that just like, does that make you feel like you're Christian?
Yeah, I mean, definitely at first it would be like a fake faith, but I mean, if that's all that you can do, then but the hope is that eventually that fake faith will turn into real faith. At a certain point, even if you don't believe, if you're kind of offering everything that you possibly can, I mean, in what sense are you not Christian, you know?
If you were God, right, would you be happy with those people? Would you be happy with the utilitarians? Because that's a very utilitarian
Mhm.
view that you were describing, right? It's like it helps
Yeah.
me personally that to believe in God, and therefore I'm going to go to church and follow all the rules because I'm scared of going to hell and I want to go to heaven. And people can
Yeah.
fake what they're doing or like change the way they act all the time to
Hmm.
get what they want, but that's usually called manipulation. You can do that with any other religion. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't have to be
Hmm.
God then. Like it's like a gold digger. That's kind of how I see it. It's like if a girl, right, gets close to you, not because she loves you immediately and trusts you. She doesn't trust you really, but she sees your money, and then she tries to almost act as if she loves you and believes you. And then maybe one day she will actually start to love you and believe you. Is that anything that different from what you described, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty much my approach. I mean, it sounds pretty crazy,
I
but I
see.
would
I
say,
see.
I ran into Pascal's wager, and then I kind of realized that it's not really so much about whether it's necessarily true. It's more so about what I should be doing, right? I am a very utilitarian person, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because ultimately you want God because he is good, right? That's why people choose God and not Satan.
Okay, so then right, that's actually like I've never heard anybody say like make an argument like that. That's interesting. So I think that what you're saying is, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you're saying is faith is delusion, but with a purpose. You specifically use an example of propaganda, right? Now, if somebody uses propaganda to convince a bunch of people of something crazy thing, that's delusion.
I'm not saying that Christianity is necessarily propaganda, just that the concept of propaganda applies here, where if you're told something enough times, it's just human nature to eventually believe in it. And I'm just stating that propaganda is evidence that that is possible. Most people would be able to be convinced eventually, and I would even argue that maybe everybody would be able to be convinced eventually.
You say convince, but I would say that it's kind of a different process than convincing. What you get out of it is fake conviction. Fake conviction is delusion. Propaganda or not, surrounding yourself with things in order to make you feel like you're more certain, even though you're not actually more certain, is a form of delusion. But you're saying that because of Pascal's wager, there is even more point to that delusion than trying to be as realistic as humanly possible.
Ultimately, you can call it delusion, but then you would also call many other things delusion, like
Yeah.
the fact that your food is safe. You'd say that's also delusional because there's a small chance that it could be poisoned, or the fact that a certain medication would help you.
To think that my senses are 100% correct is delusional, right? But with food and medication, I would actually draw the line there, right? Because I would say that it's better to think of it as real conviction and fake conviction, because basically what you said, belief or faith is thinking something is right without due evidence. That is that correct?
Sure, yeah.
I would categorize that as a fake conviction, right? Because it's not real conviction. Real conviction would be actually based on due evidence. Eating food that has 99.99999% of being safe doesn't require a fake conviction. Right now, if you have to say which is more probable, Christian God being real or not being real?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think I would probably grant that given between the two, that it's probably more likely that the Christian God is not real, just based off of the evidence. I think if that weren't the case, then the majority of the world would be Christian. If there was such obvious evidence. If we had to bet on one, I would say that agnosticism is the most likely. But the thing is that it doesn't offer any benefit, or that's kind of my thinking here.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting that you would say that. I wouldn't think that a lot of Christians would say that, right? I guess I don't even really have anything to say that. You've kind of made your point clear. Let's say I agreed with
Sure.
the two-step thing, right? And I agree that, oh, okay, so it is more beneficial for me to believe in God. So what do I do now?
You start going to church and start living out the faith and basically cosplaying as a Christian, trying to be as authentic as you can in your prayer, with the hope that eventually either God will speak to you or convince you.
Right, so just try.
Just try. Yeah, I mean that's kind of all we can do.